This is Lara Henares making your day with part 12 on an article I wrote entitled Great Civilizations. Chapter Armageddon and the End of the World. According to the Bible, the end days of the world will revolve around the re-established state of Israel. After 2,000 years of the diaspora, there will be a threat from a league headed by a great northern nation, presumably Russia, poised to attack Israel. Israel will join forces with a 10-nation consortium of the West, probably the Atlantic Pact nations or the European Economic Community. These 10 Western nations are to be led by a benevolent leader, Donald Trump, if he gets elected, maybe, who will be assassinated and miraculously survive, leading people to believe that he may be the reincarnation of Christ. Then there will come from the east a huge army of Chinese and Indians, also moving towards the Middle East to join the Muslims. There will be a great battle where God will destroy the Soviet Union, killing 83% of the Russian soldiers. The benevolent leader of the West will turn out to be Antichrist, who will enter the restored temple of Jerusalem and demand veneration. Israel will resist, then Christ will return to earth with an army of saints and defeat the army of the Antichrist at the Battle of Armageddon, north of Jerusalem. The Jews of Israel will at last accept Christ as their Savior. 1,000 years of peace will ensue until the day of the last judgment, when Christ will come to judge the living and the dead. One of the most scary possibilities in these days of born-again Christians, not only here but all over the United States, is that American leaders will start to believe this biblical scenario and assume that this generation will see Armageddon and the end of the world. If they do, as President Reagan once believed, that the Soviet Union is really an evil empire and that the United States is fighting God's own enemies, then there is no moral justification for peace. If the biblical battle of Armageddon is at hand, then any search for peace is futile, since God himself is planning the nuclear war. On one occasion in 1980, Reagan was known to have said, "We may be the generation that sees Armageddon," and to have discussed the fundamentalists with his fundamentalist friends as Reverend Jerry Falwell and singer Pat Boone. Such prophecies in the Hal Lindsey's bestseller, The Late Great Planet Earth. Jerry Falwell, self-styled leader of the moral majority, who came to endorse the martial law regime of President Marcos, once said in an interview with the Los Angeles Times that Armageddon is at the time when I believe there will be some nuclear holocaust on this earth. It could be 50 years, but I don't think we have that long. Now, Pat Robertson of the 700 Club, an avowed candidate for the presidency of the United States, said practically the same thing. More about this after these messages. This is Lara Henares making your day with part 12 of an article I wrote on the Great Civilizations. Chapter Armageddon and the End of the World. And we continue to quote, "There is no scriptural basis for the American role at Armageddon, so that it cannot be assumed that a U.S. war with Russia will fulfill any biblical prophecy." Hal Lindsey, wrote a new book, The 1980s Countdown to Armageddon, in which he urged the United States to maintain an aggressive nuclear stance. Since God himself will destroy his enemies at Armageddon, no one need fear that a superpower will beat him to the punch. But a strong national defense ensures a safe America for Christians until the moment God decides to rescue them out of danger. It is amusing to note, however, that Americans as a rule always consider themselves the good guys, while all the rest are the bad guys. In movies of the executive, mysterious, and inscrutable East, we hiss the warlords of China, the fanatic soldiers of Japan, and such characters as Dr. Fu Manchu. Then there are the historical sagas that depict the cruel and despotic Spaniards as arch-villains. Then the usual anti-Nazi and anti-communist villains who are exactly the same except for the names, all of them depicted as contemptuous of democracy and totally devoid of human compassion. Lastly, the terrorists, most of whom are Negroes, Arabs, and lunatics. More tomorrow, my dear friends. This is Lara Henares, making your day, saying good day, God bless you. Thank you very much for being with us. Till next time, hasta la bye-bye.